all of the praises and the glory to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushai, Ba'ashim Rakar Kwadash. And giving double honors to the apostles of the Great Millstone, and also giving salutations to the Yakim out there that's forwarding this ministry, exhorting Yahushai with diligence and continuance and in faith, and most importantly out of the sincerity of your hearts. And it's the brother Laban coming at you with another video. And can't forget shalom to the brothers out there that sick, that can't further this ministry the way that we do, and as well as the women too. Shalom. All right, and now it's the brother Laban once again coming at you with another video. And in this video, I want to respond to, as you can see, this article concerning what's going on with Russia and Ukraine. As the title says, is an all-out Russia-Ukraine war about to break out? Excuse me. Hello? So as this reads, the world is bracing for a potential armed showdown over Ukraine, which all sides say they don't want to happen. So it reads, Russia and its CSTO ally, Belarus, have announced joint military exercise in February, which Western pundits claim are part of preparations for an invasion of Ukraine. And meanwhile, Kiev have been receiving new weapons from the UK this week, with the shipment touted as boosting its self-defense. At the same time, EU members are debating what exactly would trigger anti-Russian sanctions that they have pledged to impose in response to an attack. Moscow continues to insist it has no intention to use force against Kiev, which I believe would be Ukraine. Didn't US-Russia talk diffuse things? Several rounds of diplomatic talks between Russia and the US and NATO failed last week and produced a breakthrough. The Western side rejected Moscow's demand to stop the military bloc's expansion in Europe and, in particular, to disavow its 2008 pledge to eventually admit Ukraine and Georgia. So I'll be right back once again. So let me read this again. Several rounds of diplomatic talks between Russia and the US and NATO failed last week to produce a breakthrough. The Western side rejected Moscow's demand to stop military bloc expansion in Europe and, in particular, to disavow its 2008 pledge to eventually admit Ukraine and Georgia. NATO said its open door policy is essential to its mission. Moscow sees it as a hostile force, and its enlargement is compromising Russia's national security. As a result, the verbal clash over Moscow's plans, vice versa, Ukraine, is as intense as when it started in November. Because really what's going on here, as we all should already know, Ukraine and the allies of Ukraine are poking the bear and trying to basically get the response that they want out of Russia, so that they can then have the leeway to do what they got to do, which is to, break out this war. Because really, Ukraine, which is in league with America, and as well as the other EU countries as well that are connected with Ukraine, they want war. All right, they want war, but they're provoking the bear so that the bear can make that move. And once the bear makes that move, then they're going to make the moves that they're going to have to make. All right, because when you really think about it, man, and I'm not going to just talk about it as of yet. I'll get there. I'll get to that point. But the thing with Europe and America, what they fear is that, I'll say this instead. What they fear is that other countries within Europe expand, their military power. Because the thing with America, especially America, wants to retain their position in being the superpower on the face of the earth. This is why they have spread their military might so widely. All right, and they want to keep it that day. They want to keep it that way. Excuse me. They don't want any other Edomitic nation to do that. They want to be the only Edomite nation to keep their army all around, thereby upholding their empire. All right, and that's one of the reasons as to why the talks didn't work out. The diplomatic talks between Russia and the U.S. and NATO failed, as it reads. And the ultimate reason why it's failed, because the Lord isn't dealing with the unity of Europe like he used to. At once upon a time, Europe overall, from the west to the east, they were all within one unit. All right. And now that's failing because we're in a time of the ceasing of this empire. And when this empire ceases, as all empires did, the people divide themselves. As Yahushua gave a parable towards the Pharisees and Sadducees, saying that how can Satan cast out Satan? And if a house be divided against itself, then how can that house stand? So there we have it. We're in a society, a house of Edom, right, that cannot stand anymore because everyone has their own way of doing things, and as well as when I'm really talking about within the brotherhood, the dark brotherhood, this crow's going in that, and then you have East and West Europe. There's a dividency there too. So there's a spirit of division amongst these Edomites, and even when you're dealing with the average, everyday, regular peon Edomite. All right. And as I've said, the Lord is about to break this system through. So let's read Revelations, the 11th chapter, verse 13. And the same hour was there a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell. And then the earthquake were slain of men 7,000, and the remnant were frightened and gave glory to the Most High of heaven. So in other words, this just represents America being destroyed. All of it's going to be destroyed. And as it reads, it says, and then the earthquake were slain of men 7,000. What is the earthquake referring to? The nuclear wind, which is going to come out of the nuclear missiles. That destroying wind is going to pretty much spread, evaporate itself, and anything that gets in the way of that destroying wind is going to destroy. Whether it be buildings, cars, buses, what have you, men, women, children, little babies. All right. So let's read verse 14, which is the point. And it reads, and you know too, I gotta elaborate on this in saying, as it reads, right? Let me read this again. In the same hour was there a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell, because America's made out of different parts. And I believe there was a map which was made by the Department of Homeland Security, and they were showing you that America was made out of 10 parts due to their area code numbers and that, right? But as it is written also in the book of Isaiah, that the whole of America will be a desert, so eventually it's going to be totally destroyed anyway. So let's read down to verse 14, which is the point. So the second woe was past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. What is that third woe referencing? Which is the Third World War, which begun after the Cold War, which begun in the 1980s and even into the early 90s. All right. So after that, now ever since then, that point, we've been at World War III, but the missiles haven't been flying to and fro yet. That's just the thing. And as it reads, the second war was past, which is World War II, which World War II was started by the Brits, because basically when you go into the story of Germany, or should I say the history of Germany, when you check what they were doing by the behest of Hitler himself, he was expanding his military from places like Poland, Austria, and he gained more power in Czechoslovakia. So Britain saw the expansion of the German army, and then we can't even forget that Germany was doing way more economically better than Britain was. And Britain wanted that superpowered position. Okay? Britain wanted to be the superpower. So that was the reason for World War II, to be exact, really. So now that we've passed World War II, the third war coming quickly, which is World War III. And this is the ultimate reason why the talks didn't work. Because there's no peace for Edom now. We're approaching a time of Edom coming down. And what they're going to do is self-destruct. Because they're the sons and daughters of perdition. Destruction, which is what that means. All right? And the Lord is working on these people to destroy themselves, including, as well as it is written in the gospel, Yahushua told Peter that whosoever liveth by the sword shall die by the sword. And check this out as well. Esau was blessed with the sword by his father Isaac. So that blessing is going to lead to their curse. One last precept I have to read, which is in the book of Joel 3, verse 1. For behold, in those days and that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. And what does this mean? Meaning that the Lord is going to bring off or bring back our captivity. Verse 2, and I will also gather all nations, because the Lord said it in the book of Lamentations, the 4th chapter, that there'll be no affliction. Okay, the Lord will no longer. Let me see if I can pull that out. That's not in Lamentations. That's in somewhere else. But there's a scripture that says affliction shall not come a second time or something like that. So just bear me for 1 minute. Right. Yeah, it's actually Nahum. This is it right here. Yeah, Nahum, we'll begin by reading yeah, this is it right here. It says, what do you imagine against the Lord Yahweh? He will make an utter end, and the affliction shall not rise up a second time. So we're not going to be afflicted never again. And now I want to read Lamentations, the 4th chapter as well, just to further convey the point. Spelling it wrong. Lamentations. Come on, man. Lamentations 4. And we're going to get to the point. Verse 22. The punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion, and he will no more carry thee away into captivity. And he will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom, and he will discover thy sins. So you have to read it with understanding when Joel said that the Lord will bring back the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. Okay? So when Esau is destroyed, and as well as these other nations are destroyed, we're not going to go back into captivity again. So this just represents that the Lord is going to take away or bring back our captivity. So let's read on. It says, I will also gather all nations, and I will bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, and I will plead with them there for my people, and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations, and parted my land. If you look up that word plead, the word there is shapatyat, which means to judge. So the Lord is going to judge these nations in a particular fashion, as we're going to continue to read, as it explains. And they have cast lots for my people, and they have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. And that's exactly what they did during the transatlantic slave trade. What they used to do is they used to sell our people, or they used to exchange our people for wine, diluted wine that was to those Hamites that was selling us towards those Europeans. And they used to cast lots. They used to put us on those auctioning blocks. And, that's exactly what occurred, which is the prophecies. So, because all of that, which is what was done to our people, and that they've scattered us as well, now the Lord is going to bring about the judgment on that regard, okay? So this is verse 4. Yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all of the coast of Palestine, and those Ishmaelites that are there? Will ye render me a recompense? And if ye recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head, because you have taken my silver and my gold and carried it into your temples, my goodly pleasant things. And that's exactly what the Greeks did as well. They took our resources and went into the temple and changed it into a place of exercise. And they have done that again. They have taken our gold and our silver, and they've taken us as slaves too. So they're going to have to pay for this too. Verse 6, the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that you might remove them far from their border. And we were sold to the Edomites. Now, if you look up this word Grecians, the word there is Japhet, which is referencing those nations in the South Pacific Islands, those indigenous people that are there, the Aborigines as well. But the Grecians is really referring to the Edomites, because in due time, as you research the history in the future, they were calling themselves the Greeks. They conquered those Japhites that were there in Europe, which was given them of the Heavenly Father, was a blessed land from the Lord towards them. And when the Edomites came in as the Greeks, they pretty much conquered those Japhites, which are the original Grecians, and as well as even the Roman Empire as well. Okay, which the term Rome goes back to Romulus and Remus, if I'm correct, which goes back to the people of Japhet, that you might remove them far from their border. And that's exactly what they did. They removed us far from our land, and they even took the land as well. Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither you have sold them, and I will return your recompense upon your own head. So now let's go all the way down, and we're going to get to the point. Joel 3 verse 9, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war and wake up the mighty men, and let all of the men of war draw near, and let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say that I am strong. So now we're talking about this war, because before the times that we're living in today, all of these countries which were the least, which were poor, are now superiorly strong now, above their enemies in the Western Hemisphere. They're economically superior and weaponry wise as well. So as it reads, let the weak say that I am strong, and assemble yourselves, and come all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about thither. Cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord, and let the heathen be awakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, which the valley of Jehoshaphat is in the Middle East, where the angels are, the four angels which are holding the four winds, which are situated in the, if I'm correct, in the Euphrates River. All right. For there will I sit to judge all of the heathen round about. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come ye and get down, for the press is full, the fats overflow. For their wickedness is great. Multitude is in the valley of the decision. For the day of the Lord Yahweh is near, in the valley of decision. So this is going to be the Lord judging all of these nations through this nuclear war, due to what they have done unto his chosen, the apple of his eye. That's why this is happening. The reason why World War III is happening is because of the wrongs which was done to us as a people among these other nations. So that's going to be the payment for that. All right. So that's all I have to really say on this right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this link in the description box. Excuse me, this article, the link to it in the description box, and you can read it when you get the chance to. So that's all I have to say. With that, I want to give all of the praises and the glory to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakak, Wadash. And with that, I'm out, and I'm closing, and I say Shalom.